Welcome to the Becoming You Show, where limits get torched and possibility takes the mic. I'm Leah Rowling, human in permanent beta, neurostrategist, mom to 3 amazing humans, married to 1 legendary soul, and your no fluff permission slip to stop waiting. Every week, we rewire brain patterns, smash hand-me-down mindsets, and dive into the daring, identity-shifting conversations most people dodge. Ready to turn potential into proof? Grab your pen. Your next chapter starts now. Okay, my beautiful friends, how are we? How are we? Before we go anywhere today, I just want to say thank you. Seriously, thank you for showing up here. Thank you for choosing to spend this part of your day listening and thinking and reflecting when truly you could be doing a million other things, right? Thank you. Thank you for being the kind of person who invests in your growth. It says something about you. Most people, they don't make space for these kinds of conversations, right? They stay busy climbing ladders. And in that climb, they never even stop to question, are they going in the right direction? Is there another way? Who else can we bring along? And so you're here. And I think that's pretty awesome. So we are going to dive in today with this idea. You know how people say, you've probably seen it on a meme or on a quote or on your Insta profile, but they say that they say the thief of joy is comparison, right? That comparison is the thief of joy. I think that is how it's typically laid out. And I don't buy it. And I'm gonna share with you why I don't buy it, because I think that the real thief of joy is measuring your greatness before you've even defined it. That's the stealing kind of comparison. Okay. That's the kind that sneaks in when you're scrolling and you see that person who seems to have it all together, right? They're on another trip. They've hit another milestone. They took an amazing photo. They look amazing in all the photos, right? And before you even realize it, you're holding your life up to their highlight reel. And if you haven't defined what greatness means to you, you're going to default to their scoreboard, right? You're going to measure yourself against their position, their rank, their vague rung on some ladder that, let's be honest, maybe they didn't even choose either. And when we do that, when you do that, joy slips away. But when you do define greatness on your terms, joy comes back. Because now it's not about beating someone to the top of some invisible ladder. It's about living in alignment with what you decided matters, right? That's the shift. That's why the invitation on this podcast, on this show today, is we've got to stop climbing the ladder all together. And so let me explain to you what I mean by this ladder, right? It's what I call the vertical axis of comparison. And you might have heard me talk about it on other podcasts, but I want you to envision this vertical axis, this ladder, right? And at the top of this ladder, it's better. And at the bottom of this ladder, it's worse, right? When you look up, right, you see people who seem more talented. They seem more wealthy, more healthy, more followed, more adored, more respected, just fill in the blank, okay? And you think in some way that they're better than you somehow. And the moment that you believe that, right, you quietly decide that you can't be. And in that decision, you don't give yourself the chance to grow. And other times you look down from the ladder and you see someone not maybe as far as you, right? You feel that you are maybe just a wee little bit better, a little more in some way. You feel a little ahead of the game. And that judgment, that becomes your lens. And you start looking for proof that you're right. And that fuels separation, not connection. Either way, up or down. Okay, imagine either way, up or down. You're not moving forward. You're just climbing a ladder to nowhere. And here's the crazy part. Most of us logically know that no one is really better than anyone else. There's no universal standard of greatness. We can't all agree on what it means. So how could it possibly be a fair measure of comparison? And yet we still play the game, right? 1 minute, we feel just a little bit better than someone else. The next minute, not quite as good. And that's the danger of the ladder. It tricks you into thinking progress is about position when it's actually about possibility. So now that we know this, we know that there's this ladder, right? I want us to know that it's okay that this ladder exists. It's part of our wiring. We are wired to compare, just as naturally as we are wired to belong in some way. If we go back, generations, way back human history, comparison was about survival. We didn't compare to decide who was more worthy. We compared to learn how to live, okay? We'd see what others were eating, how others made a fire, how they were keeping themselves and their families safe, and we copied what worked. It was healthy. It kept us alive. But somewhere along the way, that type of comparison shifted. It stopped being about survival and started being about status. Now, instead of learning from one another, we measure ourselves against one another. Instead of expanding ourselves in the expansion of others, we rank. We rank. And this new kind of comparison, it breeds resentment when we feel less than. It fuels rejection of ourselves and others. And it sends us into hiding because we've already decided that we're not enough. That is why this conversation is an invitation to flip the axis, right? Instead of this vertical axis, this ladder, better, worse, depending on the day, depending on the rung that you stand on. And here's the other thing with the ladder, friends. Once you get to a certain part on the ladder that you think you've made it, you don't. You just keep moving the rung. You just keep finding someone else to make you feel insufficient, right? So today, I want us to commit to making the decision around flipping this vertical, better, worse ladder into a more horizontal growth expansion line, right? On this axis, right? On this horizontal axis where there's growth expansion, there's no one above you. There's no one below you. We're all just moving forward in our own way, but in cooperation with others. Comparison still exists, but it becomes fuel instead of friction. It inspires us to expand, to grow, instead of diminishes us. So I want you to think about something. Where are you right now on that axis? And why? Without judgment, I just want you to think about it. where you are on this vertical axis. Because friends, we're all there. We've all been there. We all probably are there right now in some way. So where on it do you believe that certain people are just a little bit better than you? And why is that? Why is it? What is it about them? Do they seem happier? Do they take more trips? Are they prettier, smarter, taller? Do they make more money? What is it? What is it? And then I want you to flip it and be like, okay, what makes you feel just a little bit better than someone else? Don't judge it. If you judge it, my beautiful friends, you don't get access to it. Just be honest with yourself. Because when you can name it, you start to understand why you've positioned yourself where you are on that axis. And most likely, where you feel you're just a little bit better than somebody else, whatever that is, wealth, status, etc., that's probably your greatness valuation. That's probably where you see that other people are greater than you in that same variable. And then I want you to ask yourself, is that really what you believe greatness is? Don't question it. Or have you been borrowing someone else's definition? So if you need to, I want you to pause me right now and define greatness for yourself. Define it for you. Because without a definition, as I started this whole podcast out with, without a definition, you will compare to other people's definition. That is the thief of joy. Not comparing ourselves, but in lacking clarity in how we define excellence for ourselves. And if you need help doing this, here's one way to do it. Okay, I want you to think about the greats in your life. Why were they great? Why were they great? I'm guessing that it wasn't because of the car they drove, and I'm guessing it wasn't because of the clothes they wore, or how many houses they owned, or how many followers they had on TikTok, right? For me, when I did this work, my definition is this, and I'm just going to read it to you. My definition is this: greatness is the space you hold for people, how they feel when they are with you. It's the willingness to seek discomfort in a world addicted to ease. It's generosity, it's kindness, and it's the continued pursuit of growth and expertise. That's my definition. When I think about greatness, my mom is the first person I see. The first person I see. Not because of titles or money or recognition, but because of how she lived. And I know people say this all the time, but it doesn't make it less true for my mom. To know her really was to love her. She didn't need accolades, but boy, was she quick to give them. When she was with you, she was with you. Her presence didn't wander. You always felt like you were the most important person in the room. She didn't take herself too seriously. She never led with judgment. I can't honestly remember her ever saying anything cruel or mean, not to someone's face, not behind their back. And trust me, she had plenty of opportunities to do so, but she didn't go there. She didn't go there because her lens wasn't tuned to fault finding. She wasn't on this ladder of people being better and some people being not as good, right? It was tuned to love, to connection, to generosity of spirit. Now, if you were to ask her, I don't think she would have told you that she lived in a horizontal axis, right? That she didn't believe in a vertical line. She didn't believe in a hierarchy of greatness, right? But to her, greatness was in the quiet details. The way that she listened without judgment. The way that she always gave more than she had. Not for applause, not for validation, but because she couldn't imagine a world where she wasn't being helpful. The way she carried herself when life got hard, and friends, oh, girl, her life was hard. But she carried herself graceful, steady, unwavering. right? She didn't need to climb anyone's ladder. She was too busy expanding and loving on her own access and encouraging everyone else to expand on theirs. The search for me for greatness was lengthy. for years, I would probably put decades in there. I thought greatness was a finish line, something that I'd reached if I had earned enough, achieved enough, proved enough. So I became who I thought I had to be to get there. I wore all the masks. I said yes when I meant no. I chased titles and credentials. And the more I achieved, the more successes I quote unquote accomplished, the less great I felt. And it's because I believe that my definition wasn't mine. Even that was borrowed, inherited, imposed. So when you step off this ladder and onto your own horizontal path, I want you to keep in mind a couple of anchors that will help you keep moving forward. Okay. I want you to think about, and maybe you even take a minute to write these 4 down. And when you're feeling less than, when you've given the world permission to declare your worth, I want you to have these on a note card, and I want you to come back to them to remind you of who you truly are as an expansive, 100% worthy being that is on the becoming journey, right? So the first anchor I want you to think about is your character over comparison. Who you are matters more than where you rank. Generosity over judgment. I want you to see the humanity in people before you see their category. And all of these anchors, by the way, I got from my mom being great, right? When I look at, like I mentioned, the greatness of my mother, these were the anchors that helped inform me to my definition of what greatness was. So character over comparison, generosity over judgment, mastery over mediocrity. What do I mean by that? I want you to dedicate yourself to developing your skills and gifts. I want you to work hard at something. I want you to have a skill that you're working towards always, always, not because it's going to make you better than others, not because life is suddenly going to be better there once you've mastered that skill, but because I want to see who you're capable of becoming in this journey that we call life. And then leadership over likes. I want you to use your influence as a leader to lift others, not to prove yourself. So, in wrapping this up, I want us to be clear. Comparison isn't the thief of joy. It's the symptom. The real thief is not defining greatness for you. Because when you don't know it for yourself, you end up living by everyone else's definition, and it will never, ever, 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 ever be enough. That's greatness confusion. It's life on a ladder that's ill-defined. And yeah, the ups and downs of the ladder can feel like progress, but they're not. It's not progress. It's just up and down, over and over and over, going nowhere. Going nowhere. Come down. Come down from the ladder. That ladder was never yours. It was always ill-defined, and it will continue to be ill-defined because every human being on the planet probably has a different definition of greatness. So it cannot be a fact. It's just everybody's opinion that we've suddenly decided to base our definition of greatness on. If we decide to make that decision today to, one, define greatness for ourselves, and to stop using other people's definition of greatness to compare ourselves to either better or worse, you will make progress in your life. You will make far more progress in your life. Up and down goes nowhere. Forward goes somewhere. And it's always forward, friends. There's this notion out there, maybe a podcast for another day, where they say, you know what, I feel like I take one step forward and two steps back. There's no such thing. It's always progress when you're not climbing. It's always progress, because in those moments where you feel like you're going back, there was something to be learned. And as long as there is something to be learned, there is progress. You deserve progress. You deserve forward motion. You deserve joy. And joy is the symptom of a clear, personal definition of greatness. I would love to know what yours is. I would love to know it. So DM me, email me, you know how to get a hold of me. I would love to know it, because you know what I'd love to do? I would love to post everyone's definition of greatness just to prove my point. Because I will almost guarantee you, no, scratch that, I will guarantee you, no one's will be the same. Not one single person will give me a definition that will match anyone else's. How cool is that? I just think it's cool. So do this for me. Do this for you. Do this for you. Have your children do this. Have your teams do this. Have the people that you love define greatness on their own terms, so they stop going up and down this ladder that's exhausting, and they actually start moving forward in their life. There's no joy in judgment. Judgment in thinking that other people are better. Judgment in thinking that you're better. Judgment. And judgment only lives in two places. Another podcast for another day. Envy and shame. Okay? Joy lives somewhere else entirely. Joy lives in defining, not defaulting. Joy is yours when you realize there's no ladder, only your definition of what it means to be great. And then living every single day as best as you can by that definition. So if this message resonated with you in any way, as I mentioned, share it with someone that you believe deserves joy, right? Because you know what's a good time? A lot of people in your life being joyful, because joyful and joy is contagious. And I believe that the world needs more of it, right? So I want you to understand that we actually can, in this one decision, I believe, change the world. I truly believe that. I believe that as each of us define what greatness is for ourselves, and then we start sharing that with the world, it will be a more joyful place to live. So until next time, my beautiful friends, have an amazing, amazing one. And I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye. If this episode cracked something open, good. Let it. And then head to leahrollingcoaching.com and grab the tools to rewire the story and reclaim your future. It is yours. And then share this with someone who's still waiting to be chosen, still waiting for permission, and remind them they don't need a breakthrough, that they are the breakthrough. Until next time, my beautiful friends, invest in you and keep becoming.